Okay, so this video corresponds to Activity 3, Lab 18, Activity 3. If you look in your lab book on page 161, Activity 3, there's not much to it. It says writing a key for the above phyla, and then it says following the procedure of the first lab of General Biology 1, which was that taxonomy lab with the critters that you did maybe last semester if you took General Bio 1 with us. It says write a key reflecting the dichotomous branching scheme that you followed above to divide the critters into their 9 natural clusters. Okay, so again, you can look back to lab 1. There's actually an example in there. It's with shapes, not the critters. But let me get you started so that you kind of know what you're doing. So you're going to get another blank sheet of white paper. And again, you're going to create a dichotomous key. The key is, it's kind of a, the scheme is your representation, kind of a diagram, where your key is more of you kind of read and go from one step to the other. So kind of a verbal description, written description here, and this is more of a pictorial description. Okay, so at the top of your key, you're going to put if, and then you're going to put then go to. And a dichotomous key is used, so say you're a scientist or you're anyone, right? And you come across something, maybe in nature, maybe it's a leaf, and you want to know what tree, what species, what tree did this come from? You can use a dichotomous key to figure that out. So you take your tree, your leaf, sorry, and you would take the dichotomous key for that particular region, North American trees or something like that. And you would go through each step of the key to figure out finally which leaf you have. Okay? So at the very top, you put if, then go to. Okay? You're going to come back to your scheme. And what you're going to do is you're going to number the boxes on here. So let me start to number the boxes. And I had a Sharpie and a child stole it from me. So let's see. I have an orange pen in here. No, I have a Sharpie. I lied. They did not steal it. So I'm going to use my green Sharpie to number my boxes. I'm going to skip the top box that says all animals. I'm going to go to the the row or the layer or the step below. And I'm going to label those boxes 1A and 1B. Okay? So my spongy porous box containing sponge and scypha, I have on top of there 1A. That's my label for that box. And for my non-spongy, non-porous, all the other animals, I've got 1B. I'm going to go down now again to the next dichotomy, the next branch. And I'm going to label that level 2. So 2A and 2B. Okay? So radial versus bilateral, you can see radial is labeled 2A and bilateral is labeled 2B. Okay, my labels are at the top of those boxes. I'm then going to choose one of those. I'll choose my radial, and I'll label the next layer down, spines, no spines. I'll label that 3A, 3B. Okay, notice how I'm labeling this dichotomously. So for each number, there are 2 choices, A and B. Okay, I'll stop there. You would go on to the next part over here to bilateral. My camera's the opposite. To bilateral, where that branches. You would label those branches 4A and 4B. And then maybe you would come over here to segmented and label the next, the exo, no exo, maybe 5A, 5B, okay, so on and so forth. So you're doing this dichotomously. So let me go back to my key. I'm going to take those numbers, and I'm just going to put those numbers under if. So I'm going to write, use my green pen. I'm going to say 1A or 1B, 2A or 2B, 3A or 3B. And again, if you did this right, on your key, you should get all the way down to 9A or 9B. Okay, so you see under if, I put my number letter combination. Again, if you did it right, you should get all the way down to 9, level 9, A and B. Okay, so now you're telling your reader if your animal that you found has this statement, if that's correct about your animal, then you're going to go to wherever I tell you to. Okay, so what am I going to put next to 1A? I'm going to go back to my scheme, and I'm going to write whatever's in the box, whatever the description in the box is. So for 1A, you're saying if the animal is spongy or porous. Dot, 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 dot. Okay, and then for 1B, we put if the animal is not spongy or not porous. Okay, you can go all the way down and fill this out first. So let's do that. So for 2, 2A is if the animal is radially symmetrical. So we're going to put radial symmetry. And for 2B, you could have put not radial, or you could put bilateral symmetry. Okay, now 3A and 3B, I've got spines and no spines. Okay, so I put my number letter combination, I put an or in between them. See where it says 1A or 1B? You're telling your reader, whoever's going to be using this key, to figure out what animal they have in their hand, what phylum it belongs to. They have to make a choice between the statements at level 1. So they're going to read the statements for 1A and 1B and make a choice. Is your animal spongy or porous, or is the animal that you have found, is it not spongy or porous? Okay, and based on your answer to that, you're going to go to wherever the key tells you to. Okay, now for 1A, there is nowhere else to go. So on your key, you're going to put sponge and scypha. And I would also include the phylum name. And I'm not going to put it here because that's your job to figure that out. For not spongy, not porous, you're going to tell your reader to go down to level 2. Does that make sense? So let me show you that. So for 1A, again, if the animal that you just found, and you're using this classification scheme to figure out what phylum or what animal that is, or phylum it belongs to. If it's spongy or porous, okay, you're going to choose 1A, and your animal might be a sponge or a scypha, or it's going to belong to whatever phylum that is. So you need to put the phylum name there. Okay. Now for 1B, if your animal is not spongy, not porous, well, then you're going to go down to level 2. And so at level 2, you're going to make a choice down here between 2A and 2B. So is the animal that you have, it's not spongy, it's not porous, is it radially symmetrical or is it bilaterally symmetrical? Okay, so I did some of this for us. So over here, I come back, okay, for the radially symmetrical, you got a choice here, 3A and 3B. So I would tell my reader to go down to level 3. If you found an animal and it's radially symmetrical, you're going to go down to 3. Now I didn't put anything under here, so for if it's bilateral, you're going to tell your reader probably to go to 4. So I would put 4A and 4B. Okay, so something like that. And you're going to keep going, and every time you get to a terminal box, an end box, you're going to put the organisms' names that are there and the phylum that they are from. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So again, it's called a dichotomous key. It's dichotomous because at each level of the key, you have to make a choice between 2. So di meaning 2. Dichotomy, a choice between 2, in this case, 2 statements. Okay, so this is a way to lead your reader through your scheme. It's a way, again, if a person finds an organism, it's a way for them to classify that organism using this nice key, which will bring them to, again, the organism's phylum. Okay, so you want to complete that, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to upload that right to Blackboard.